some small hosted website. It may be the same address that results every time you reverse DNS lookup that address from any computer in the world. They only have one place they're hosting it from. So this is a reverse here. I'm trying to see what IP address is Google.com is using, or essentially which it is resolving to when I ping that. Now the opposite is happening when I go to a website. So if I go ahead and I take 172 and I open up Edge and I put that up here on the top and I go to that website, of course I'm just going to get Google because that's the real IP address or the closest Google data center to me. I can put a different one in and it would also resolve to Google, some other Google data center website. Now the key thing to understand here is that if I go to Microsoft.com, I'm actually going to an IP address there, not Microsoft.com. This is a fully qualified domain name, but that DNS service is what's going to look up the domain name that you see there and actually get me the correct IP address that I need to visit in order to pull up that website. That's what, in a nutshell, I won't get into a lot of detail with DNS, way more detail than that in the Network Plus class. That's like 5% of what DNS does. So this is essentially why DNS is important. Now, if I am looking here back to, if I'm looking back to my my services, this is a DNS cache. So you have to think of DNS as a tiered hierarchy. And so, for example, if I go to Google.com, do you think that I've been to Google.com before on this machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably not going to have to go out to many hops away to find the IP address for Google.com. As a matter of fact, it's not even actively in my host.
Right.
Because that
host
cache
file
is storing the most frequently used or recently used DNS resolutions.
Yep.
Now, you're going to have all kinds of DNS servers that we'll learn about. You're going to have intermediate DNS servers. You're going to have authoritative DNS servers. You're going to have root DNS servers. But if I'm trying to query a DNS server, do a DNS lookup for a website that's very obscure, that I may have to go through 2 or 3 different levels of DNS servers before I'm able to successfully resolve an IP address. So this is just my local cache. If I disable this, then name queries aren't going to be cached, and the computer's name won't be registered. So we can't do local DNS lookups either, and that's going to slow things down. And it also could prevent my machine from accessing the internet because of the fact that on some local networks, computers are required to have host names in order for them to successfully.
So would you repeat that again, sir? What would prevent you from accessing the internet?
Because the DNS cache stores host name information.
Mm-hmm.
If your host name is not available on a local network where Active Directory is implemented,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not going to provide DHCP services to that host. So if you're on a network like in your home, it wouldn't prevent you from accessing the internet. But if you're on an AD domain, it probably would, because it wants to see a host name there. And I'll show you that when we get into the system control.
So now is there a difference between a process and a service?
Yes. Let's wait on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only reason you was able to get that IP address for Google is because you have visited or you're bored, and so when you did the DNS lookup, it pulled it from the cache.
It probably
pulled it
did.
from online.
It probably did. Probably pulled it up from the cache. Can't say that for sure. I mean, we could go and look in the cache. Well, I can't say that for sure. I've been to Google before, so I know it's in the cache. But if you wanted to look at that, you could look at your DNS cache. Yeah, for something like that, it wouldn't even have to resolve it. Now, if I just changed my network interface, which I have done some of that in here. I've been doing a lot of swapping network interfaces. Then your DNS cache is going to be updated with new information, because a name server that was best before may not be best anymore. I may now, like for example, let's say I take this computer, unplug it, fly to Canada, plug it in, and I've got my DNS cache on there, right, from San Antonio. So if it goes to, if I go to Google and it uses that, that stored name server for google.com that was accessed from here, it's definitely not going to be the fastest one for there. It's going to work, and I probably won't notice the difference. But it's going to want to periodically update that DNS cache to make sure that we're still using the best available name server.
So you have to flush it then?
Then you would flush your cache to do that.
Right.
So let's not get into too much depth with DNS.
Is it similar to cookies?
Because this is not. No, it's not similar to cookies at all.
What he's talking about,
Because cookies what? Cookies is an internet based.
Cookie is a file. You have first-party cookies and third-party. Let's see, David.
Yes.
No first-party and third-party cookie discussion on A+, right?
No.
No. I sometimes get the search, because I'm training from numerous certs, I go into too much depth on some stuff. So essentially, really, on A+, you just need to focus on the fact that a cookie is a file. It stores information about either you as a user or your site preferences, sometimes things that you've recently looked at. It could store customization options for a site, store user data, it can store personal information, and then that file is stored locally. So if you go back to a website, then that file can be used to, to share that information. If it's a third-party cookie with another website, or if it's first-party with that same website. Like if it's an Amazon cookie and I'm signed in, it can allow me to stay signed in later, to keep the contents of my shopping cart.
Is it like can be used for data mining as well, right?
It can be used for data mining too. Yeah.
Where do you go see your DNS cache and where do you go see it? I know you said you
Definitely on A+.
We're not going to go through that here. I don't want to spend the time to do that.
Yeah,
I can show you later though, Virginia.
Okay.
I'm going to think cookies are managed in A+.
Yeah, we need to get through this stuff.
Okay.
Okay, disk management. Now I want to show you the demo on disk management over here, because I know that there were some, I had some requests on, especially Angel, on expanding a disk and shrinking a disk and so forth. Now this is particularly